Y'all already know what it is. Jay Williams, Let's Live Life, and we're back. Getting out and going back in. Getting out, going back in. Getting out and going back in. Until they get tired of playing with you. Until they decide one day they don't want to let you out no more because they're tired of seeing you. I done seen it. Let's relive it. So before we get started, let me give a shout out, salute to King Domi for coming through this weekend. Domi came through, we chopped it up Saturday night. Sunday we posted up, did the live. So yeah, salute to Domi for coming out, man. Cool dude. You haven't checked King Domi TV out? Do yourself a favor and check him out, man. So today we're going to talk about guys getting out and coming right back, which is something I've been dealing with, was a part of, and have seen since as far back as I can remember when it comes to doing time. I'll never forget being in the detention center, and there was these two brothers in there. One left one day, and he left about 8 o'clock that morning. He's out. He's a free man. Back to the world he goes. Time served. His sentence is up. Go home. Get up out of here. You ain't got to go home. You can't stay here. This dude left that morning at 8 o'clock. At about 11, right before we were getting ready to lock down for count, I looked over and I seen him walk back in. He's got the inmate uniform on, the blue jeans, the red shirt. He hadn't been out 3 hours. He got out and he'd only been locked up a couple months. Went to where he had a stolen car parked at that he would use here and there. Cops were watching the stolen car to try to figure out who it belonged to. Here comes this young teen up to the car, hops in, gets the screwdriver from, underneath the seat, starts it up. Cops run up, catch him in the car, send him right back to the detention center. It's crazy when you think you just saw someone leave and go home 3 hours ago and they're back. It pisses you off. Like, it really gets under your skin, because when you're locked up, you would give anything to be that guy that you see going home. But yeah, I remember seeing this kid come right back, man, 3 hours later. End up getting 6 months for auto theft. He was in there originally, I think he did like 30, 45 days on some petty larcenies, which means he stole something small. Next one I'm going to give y'all, man, is on a dude named L. Oh, we called him Larry. When I first hit Greensville, Larry was there. Wasn't doing a long time. Larry had a real bad drug problem. Larry had already been to prison twice, for grand larceny, stealing something over a certain amount of money. Still, like the worst larceny charge you can get as far as stealing goes. Larry, I think when I met him, was only doing like a 4-year sentence. But he was telling me, he was like, I got to get out and I got to do something different. He was actually telling a couple of us sitting at the table one night. And dudes got into what Larry was talking about. And he said, yeah, man, the judge has already told me that if I come back in this courtroom for stealing, that when he's done with me, I won't have to worry about getting back out. He don't care what it is. My points are so high. My record is so bad. I'm pushing 40 years old. I've been stealing my whole life. And I've got so much time suspended over my head right now that the judge told me he would bury me under that time, on top of the time that I get for whatever I do, if I bring back a new charge. Larry had those sticky fingers. Larry would steal things, I think, just for the thrill of stealing them. I'd seen him do it in prison. Somebody might leave their towel hanging on the shower door. Larry walked by and steal their towel. Larry stayed getting into shit behind stealing other people's stuff, which you don't touch nobody's stuff when you're locked up. That is a quick and sure way to get your ass beat or to end up in a fight. I remember watching Larry go home, and Larry talked a good game when we were at that table that night on how he was going to turn his life around. But when it got closer to Larry getting out and going home, somebody asked him, one of the dudes asked him, you get out in like 2 days, bro. What you going to do when you get out? And Larry kept it all the way 100. Kept it all the way, G. Told dude, he said, no sooner than I get out, I'm going back down where I live at, back to the projects. I'm going to give me a rock and I'm going to smoke crack. which kind of blew my mind, man, because now that's the reality with a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys, they say they're going to do good. They have all the best of intentions while they're locked up. And then as they get closer to the gate, the temptations, the reality of going home and what they're going to be able to do comes to light. And that's exactly what Larry did. Larry got out. Wouldn't be long. Larry was, strung all the way out, smoking crack every day, stealing to support his habit. Larry ends up stealing again, and he's not stealing anything of real value, anything that's real important to anybody, but he gets caught. Larry would walk back into the pod about 18 months later with a fresh 35 years in the name of stealing and supporting a drug habit. Now I want you to understand what I just said. 35 years for stealing. Could you imagine spending the next 35 years in prison because you stole something? That judge stayed true to his word. Gave Larry a whole bunch of the time that he had suspended over his head, and then gave him a whole bunch more time for the stuff he had stole. And the man ended up with 35 years. It's a lot of time. That's almost a lifetime, especially when you're 40, 45 years old. It's pretty much a life sentence. 35 years at 45, you'll be out at 80. Don't ever end up being one of those dudes, man. We had an old dude in there, old homeless guy, man. And I've talked about this before. He was in there because he threw a brick through the back of a cop car window. I first heard it and I'm thinking maybe he was drunk. He was revolting. He ain't like the police. Nah, that wasn't the case. This was a homeless man who each year would have to sleep on the streets, be out there in the cold, and just couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand being hungry. He knew that if he got locked up, they would take him to the jail. They'd feed him. He'd get healthy. He'd have 3 meals a day, a bed to sleep on, a roof over his head. All his worries are taken care of. So when I met this old man, that's what he was in prison for. Same thing happens with him. But now he's been in trouble so many times. His record goes way back that they're not playing with him. He's down on Broad Street here in Richmond. Cops are patrolling, riding by. Boom! Window explodes, goes everywhere. Dude don't run. Dude don't try to get away. He stands there. The cops throw their lights on, pull over to the curb, pull up. They lock him up. He'd been arrested so many times for vandalism and property damage that just like that, they gave him 10 years. 10 years for throwing a rock through a window. And it wouldn't be long after he got out. He went to jail, for throwing the rock through the window. Got found guilty, back to receiving, and was back in prison with us. It's like the gay dude, Lil Mama, Marvin Gaye, I used to tell y'all about. Marvin had been to prison so many times that it didn't make sense. And his excuse for what he did is that he was more accepted in prison and felt more comfortable in there than he did out on the streets. So he would commit crimes with no cares. He would get out there and just run wild to the point that he'd get a whole bunch of charges and they would lock him up. This is an everyday thing when it comes to guys getting out and coming back. Getting out and coming back. My dude, Big Tweet, I did a story on. Tweet had done his whole life in prison and got out when he was in his 40s and went on to go down to Florida, rack up a pile of charges here in Virginia, go to Florida, and would go on to get killed by the police. Tweet was an 88-time convicted felon. You might think I'm bullshitting. Pull his case up and you'll see it. 88-time convicted felon. Some guys don't get out looking to commit crimes. Some guys don't get out looking to come back to prison. Some guys get out and all they know is prison. Some guys get out and they can't shake what they've been through, the mentality, the life that they live, what they've seen and done. Some guys get out and they're not suitable to ever be back in society. I've seen it happen with guys that do just a couple years. They go through so much in a short period of time that it ruins them for life. That they get out and they end up killing somebody because of what they dealt with in prison, what they were used to dealing with, and how they were used to dealing with situations. Then you release this guy with no type of counseling, no type of help, and the first time he gets to arguing with somebody over something small, rather than talk it out and be like, man, this ain't that serious, and walk off, he ends up killing somebody. That was Big Tweet. Big Tweet got out. They said he was stealing at a store in Walmart. Cops approached him and grabbed him. When they did, Tweet's not your everyday citizen. Tweet whooped the cops' ass, shot at the cops. They tried to tase him, didn't work. Shot 2 people, during an attempted carjacking. They didn't give the car up. Carjacked somebody else, and then eventually went out in a hail of bullets. Cops shot all through his window. If you watch that video, cops killed my friend. You can see in the beginning of the video, the cops opened fire through their windshield and just completely smoked Tweet's boots, man. People fail to realize that a lot of people end up in prison because of mental illness to begin with. Everything's not clicking up here the way it should. So they do stuff out here that they know they shouldn't do or don't know they shouldn't do. And they end up in prison. Some guys come out of prison way better than they went in. I'm one of those guys. I knew that once I was released, all I needed to do was get my feet back out here in the world, and that I would make a good husband to somebody. I would make a good father to my son. I knew that I wanted to have more kids and that I'd be a good father, and I am a good father to both my sons. I knew I had a chance of being successful and turning my life around, and that the state wouldn't see me again. I got to the point where I was fed up. I got to the point where I missed life. I missed my family. I missed the small things. I missed being able to shower by myself, or use a phone when I wanted to, or go and open up my fridge, or being able to lock my bedroom door. All these small things that you people take for granted, guys take for granted, that you don't even realize are some of the greatest gifts you've ever been given. They're all stripped away from you the moment you get locked up. It all goes away. You don't know what it is to want to take a shower, and you go in and there's already 3 men showering. And now you're butt-ball naked, showering with 3 other men. And then summertime rolls around. We're playing softball in the prison. Dudes are playing basketball every day. Handball, the sports are jumping. You go to get in the shower, there's 5 shower heads, but there's 13 people in there showering. We do what's called pick and roll, which means you step in, get your body wet, you step on the shower, get your body wet, step out, soap up, while the next man steps in and gets his body wet. He steps out, soaps up, then you step in and rinse off. That's not a reality you want to have. It's not something you ever want to do. Y'all might think that's weird, but that's just how it is. It's part of prison. You're going to be around men you don't want to be around. You're going to use the bathroom in front of people. The last place I was at, there was 5 toilets side by side. And you know what a partition is. That's something that divides you from somebody else. There's no partitions. So if the guy beside you is heavy set or big, y'all might be sitting on the toilet side by side and y'all's knees might be touching. He might be sitting there talking to you. Like it's just like you're 2 guys standing on a street corner, but both of y'all got y'all's pants dropped using the bathroom. Meanwhile, you got guys in front of you brushing their teeth at the sinks. And on the other side of this little wall that's in front of them, you got a whole bunch of guys naked over there showering. I was once one of those guys that would get released and go right back. I was once one of those guys that didn't care about the consequences of being locked up or being incarcerated. Today, I'm not one of those guys. Today, I'm one of those guys that if you were to ask me how I feel about the judge and the prosecutor that oversaw my case and that convicted me, and if you were to ask me what I'd have to say to them, I would say, thank you. Because they saved my life. I needed the time I did. I tried my best to lie my way out of it, make it seem like it wasn't me, but it was. The day they sent me to prison, my life started over. In due time, I found out who I really was, and I realized I'd never be one of those guys to come back. It's just not for me. Coming out at 34 years old, there's so much I missed. I missed most of my 20s, a lot of my teen years, and I just for once wanted to just be home and go and be somebody, and that's what I've done. You might go to prison and think stuff's sweet because you end up at one place, get out, commit a crime that's more serious, and the next time you go, you might end up in a supermax with nothing but killers. You might have went in the first time with drug charges and ended up on a road camp or a work crew picking up trash. You got a gate pass. You get to go outside the prison every day. That was never something I got to do. You could come back in there for hurting somebody and be thrown somewhere where it's 23-1 and all your days are spent in this cell with this other man except for 1 hour every day. And that is your life. Imagine locking yourself in your bathroom, stripping everything out of there, making all the walls concrete, putting two metal bunks in the back, throw some little cosmetics on the counter, and that is your life for the next 20 years. Don't let that happen. Listen to these stories, understand what I'm saying, take it to heart, play it back, show a friend, stay out here, be a mother, be a father, be a brother, be an uncle, be an employee, a business owner. Just be anything besides an inmate. Crime does not pay. It might once or twice, but I told y'all before, it always ends bad. So I'm going to jump out of here. It's Monday. Got a hell of a lot of work to do, so I can't do a crazy long video. I had another video I had already recorded that I'm just going to do for some other time. It doesn't feel right now. But y'all know, man, these prisons, institutions, all these places, they're just crazier worlds inside of this already crazy world that we live in. And y'all know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to keep y'all entertained. Are you not entertained? And as always, this is Jay Williams. Let's live life. To all my real ones, and there are some real ones watching, because y'all still watching me. You know how we do. Salute.